Welcome to Scare Talk, a horror movie podcast for horror fans. This podcast will cover horror movie reviews, ratings, and rankings. Now for your hosts, Danny and Joel.
All right, this is Scare Talk. I am Danny, and I'm here with Christmas, Katrina.
All right.
And we have...
Joel.
Oh, man, I had one for you, Joel. Okay. We have Jack Frost, Joel.
Oh.
Hey guys, what's up?
All right.
Nipping at our
Yeah,
nose.
too bad my name didn't start with a G. It could be Grinch or something.
Yeah. That would have been very perfect.
Would have been.
We have a special guest on the show today. He is the director of the new Christmas horror parody film, The Mean One. We have Stephen LaMorte.
Hello. Do I get a nickname?
We can call you Dr. Stephen LaMorte.
That's a stretch, but I'll take it.
Yeah. Snowman Stephen, maybe.
Oh,
I
there
already
you go.
have Jack
That's cool.
Frost. It's just...
Yeah. All right, cool. So your movie, The Mean One, was released in theaters over the last few weeks. It's been in theaters. And the three of us, me, Katrina, and Joel, have all seen it. And so we have some questions about the film and about you in particular. But first, can you just tell us about yourself, what you do, and all that stuff?
Sure. Well, my name is Stephen LaMorte. I'm a director and producer. I live in Los Angeles. And I do everything from feature films to commercials, music videos, virtual reality, unscripted, everything in between. Myself and a handful of, I had this idea, it's been nipping at me for, goodness, 5, 6, 7, 10 years now. It's always been like that idea scratching in the back of my head. What if we did a monster movie version of this very, iconic character? And it was never meant to be more than like a 4-minute YouTube, like fake trailer, kind of like that Oscar the Grouch SNL sketch, that they made like the Joker, just a handful of jokes. And December of last year, I said, hey, I had a shoot cancel. I had 2 or 3 days open. I said, keep the crew. I'm finally going to make this fake trailer. One thing led to another. We shot it. I showed it to a couple of people, and they're like, "Wow, this trailer is super cool. When are we going to get the movie?" And I'm like, "Well, there's no movie. It's a fake trailer. It's a parody, but this is going to be it." And 5 months later, we had a script. So May of this last year, 2022, we took 14 days and a handful of nickels and dimes and chewing gum, and I got 10 of my friends together. We shot the movie. And now, 6 months later, we're in theaters all across the country and soon to be in the world.
Wow.
That's crazy.
So you had script in May and just shot it like, oh, wow. All right. That's really impressive.
Well, we had a first draft in January, because we finished shooting in end of December. And then I cut the fake trailer together, and I started noodling on the story, and we started workshopping the script and working on casting, using a lot of the same actors from the fake trailer, we were ready to shoot by May because we wanted to have this web video finished by on time to drop it online in December, and now here we are. So it's been crazy. I mean, to go from idea to like screening the film. I mean, we have to turn it over in October. It's not like I turned it over 2 weeks ago. In the span of just a few months is outrageous. And the fact that it's even finished, I mean, it's kind of like the paint's still wet on this damn thing, and we've already got it up in the museums, and it's like, don't touch that, it's still drying,
Yeah.
But we're excited to have it out in the world, and so glad we're making some people laugh.
All right.
Yeah,
that's awesome. So before we get too deep into it, I got to know, are we allowed to say who this is and
who the mean one is?
Yeah,
I mean, the mean one? Of course. Everybody knows the mean one. He's my creation. Yeah, I mean, the mean one is, look, it's a parody, and, we love and honor the source material. But we refrain from saying any of the more salacious words. We wouldn't want to confuse people into thinking the movie is something it's not. So
Gotcha.
I was wondering about that. Yeah.
Yeah, you guys are very careful.
There are certain words that are not said in this movie from the Dr. story. So I was like, oh, okay. I wonder if they're just not allowed to say them.
Yeah.
From this, other
a famous author who we know and love. Yeah, I mean, look, we're a parody. Look, we're a parody. We make we're not pretending not to be a parody. Right. But the last thing we'd want to do is confuse people into thinking we're official or we're authorized or that we're trying to trick people or hurt some other brand. I mean, we're a parody through and through, and we want to respect our bounds with that. So
gotcha.
Absolutely.
Okay, fair enough. So my first question for you is, why did you want to do this? Like, what interests you and inspired you to do something like this?
That's great. I get that question so often, especially from the people that are toiling to try to make sure we can get this out on time. Why do you keep doing this to us? It's look, my favorite thing. I feel like all filmmakers we're kids, right? We just playing with our toys, and something that I really love is taking characters, with a rich backstory and history and fan base, and kind of turning them on their side, right? Doing kind of that Marvel what if, what if you were to take this character and explore it in a realistic setting, or take something serious and make it funny, and the idea of a giant green angry monster that lives on a mountain is only logical to me that he would be scary and slicing through us. So, that idea. And then once you pull on that thread, the more seriously we take it, the funnier it gets. Yeah. And, just the idea, like every time I, just pitch the idea to people, oh, what if, there was a creature called the Mean One and he hated Christmas, it always got a laugh out of people. And everything from the drawings to the Easter eggs to, the way that we kind of play with the narration and, the original text. It's all a joke. It's, it's supposed to be melodramatic and silly and hallmarky and it was so much fun to make. So we just wanted to do something that was, fun and silly and, kind of this dark twist on something everybody knows.
Right.
Yeah. To be fair, of most children's stories, I feel like the makes the most sense to turn into a horror movie.
Who?
The Mean One.
What now? Oh yeah, we got one of those.
Yeah. It just
he's the most
definitely
monstrous.
A parody,
I mean,
but it's
between the teeth, he's got red eyes and green fur and claws and a dark voice. Come on now, he's like, and some of the iterations of this character are straight up nightmare fuel. This is a horrifying design. So we didn't have to go too far to make him scary looking. They did that all. That's right there in the source material.
Yeah. Well, with your answer to your why you did this, I feel like you did it perfectly through the movie. Like you did all those things. You hit on the humor, on the fun of it, and even keeping true to some of the really monumental parts of the story that you're doing a parody of.
Right.
Thank you so much. It was really important to me that we didn't just take some character out of context and do something different with it, right? We really wanted to do the story, poke fun at it, but stay true to the characters and the spirit and the themes, and without spoiling too much, that does factor into why the movie ends the way that it does.
Yes.
People that have seen it, and they're like, oh, okay, it doesn't end the way a traditional monster movie might. And
it was so
was
perfect.
Important.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Can I get the quote from my website? That'd be awesome.
Yes, absolutely.
There you go.
It was perfect. It was perfect.
It was
That's
perfect.
Thank you.
So perfect.
Yeah, you can put that on a poster or something.
Yeah.
I would. We'll take look, we're an independent film, right? I mean, there's 3 producers. One of them is my fiance. Like, she also plays Mayor McBean and did all the wardrobe. Like, we're a tiny team. We could use all the help we can get. I personally spray painted those shoes. Like, it's the writer plays the dad. I mean, we are a small operation, so every endorsement is helpful.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, no, that ending really, I was like, oh yeah, I forgot that this is like kind of supposed to be also something else. And then when that ending came, I was like, oh, okay, I get it.
I was really waiting for it and I was so happy that it happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So casting. So David Howard Thornton plays the mean one. He has gotten pretty popular. He became pretty well known in the horror community with Terrifier, playing Art the Clown, and then Terrifier 2. He got way more recognition that over the Halloween season, and then this one comes out a couple months later. So I'm curious, like, how that casting went, and how you guys kind of got in contact with each other and all that.
Yeah, well, I know the producers of Terrifier. We actually went to high school together. Shout out to Fuzz and Lance.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah. So I know Mike Levy and Steve Delasala and Jason Levy. So I've been aware of Terrifier since like it really first started coming into the public consciousness. Once it came on Netflix and stuff, I'm like, man, wait, this is your guys' evil clown thing? And they're like, yes, indeed it is. And so, I'd seen it. I've been aware of it. I'd seen it more times than I care to admit. And, as we're developing the script, and every time I go to New York, because I live in LA, but I'm from New York. And so every time I go to New York, I shoot with them. And, we're shooting some trashy reality show. And they're showing me on their cell phones, like, look at this BTS video. We blew up this lady's head, and I'm like, oh, man, I got to take another look at Terrifier. And I realize I'm working on, the script for this. And we've only recently decided that the creature's not going to speak. Because he's just scarier that way. And I'm like, okay, well, we need an actor who can perform non-verbally, but still be scary, but also mischievous and malicious. And that's how David came up. And we rewatched Terrifier, and I said, I think he could pull it off. And, we reached out to him, and, I expressed to him, hey, look, I gave him my pitch, but I'm like, it's not what you think. It's a parody. So it's silly, right? It's going to be serious, but it's going to be zany and goofy and campy. And, it's very, very different than Art the Clown. So when you read it, make sure you take that in mind. And, he took a look at it. He really dug it. He thought it was a chance to do something different. And, we got together in Los Angeles, and he came out, and he is the mean one. He sat through 4 hours of makeup and, danced around the set, and it was just a blast. So much fun.
That's great.
Something he's used to by now, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Sitting for makeup for hours.
Do not try to torture that man, because whatever you throw at him, he's got the patience of a saint. There's, I feel like you could, like, if you ever want somebody to keep a secret, it's David Howard Thornton, because he can sit in a chair and be poked and prodded and painted, and he's just happy to be there, and such a team player. So he's great.
Yeah. That's a cool little story. So yeah, we had David on our show last year talking about the first Terrifier, and such a nice guy. He's really great, and I'm so happy that Terrifier 2 did so well, and now you guys with the main one in theaters across the country. It's really cool to see a Christmas horror parody film get into theaters all over the country. And I'm wondering, was that something you guys kind of expected, or was that kind of like a last minute thing? Like, oh wow, we're going to be in theaters, or how did that come about?
Everything happens really, really quickly. And we're, like I said, we initially planned just to be a streaming, right? And we thought, hey, this is a funny, silly idea. You know, we'll make it. We'll put it out on streaming. It'll be out in time for Christmas. People will watch it at home on their TVs. Rock and roll. We'll have a good laugh in December. And you know, once the trailer was released, and we realized there's, you know, we were contacted by the distributor, and they're like, you know, we got a lot of interest, and they said, hey, we think there might be a chance for theatrical. Terrifier did really well. There's a hole in the schedule the week before Avatar because everyone is terrified that their movie is going to tank the week that Avatar's there. So you wouldn't put a movie in right before Avatar. So there's this, like, you know, they're like, when would you want to put it in theaters? And I said, there's this little hole that week. They're like, it's the week before Avatar. I said, you're only going to give me one night. Let's do it. What's the worst that could happen? We're not going to be there the following week, I said foolishly at the time. You know, we said, okay, let's do it. We'll hustle, and we'll use every piece of technology known to man. We'll shout it from the mountaintops. We'll get it into the theaters it needs to be in. And, you know, one night only, we'll see what happens. And one night turned into one weekend. One weekend turned to a week. We're in our second week now, and it's looking more and more likely that we'll still be in theaters for Christmas, which would be amazing.
Oh, it would.
And you know, it's just been a wild, crazy ride, and you know, a real testament to independent, you know, film and horror supporters, because we don't have a massive marketing budget. There's no huge company behind us. Like, the marketing department is me and my fiance. Like, it's just the two of us answering messages, just trying to get the word out, having the cast and crew, and David, like, you know, sharing our posts and our trailers and our promo material. So really we owe it to anybody like you guys who all went out to see it, which we appreciate so much. Making a movie like this possible, letting it have legs and kind of take on a life of its own. And we're just like so thrilled, because it never should have gone this far. And now we're just like, let's see where it goes. Let's see how much further it goes. You know, it's pretty cool. It's wild. It's really wild.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's a perfect Christmas Day movie, because it's like a classic Christmas story that is kind of turned around, and like, it's a parody, and it's not one, you know, it's not a horror parody that's too hoary, you know, like, it's something that you can still watch. Like, I even told my mom, like, I think this would be a fun one to watch. Like,
oh my God.
We get so many people want to bring their moms to this movie. It's the weirdest endorsement, and I love it. It's so...
Well, it's funny because, you know, Danny does this podcast, and so we have horror stuff all over, and she's very against horror, but I'm like, this one is a good one. You have to see this one. So they do a Christmas movie every day or every year.
Oh,
and
that's
so
right. They go to the theater.
I told them, this is a good one, guys.
Oh,
so we'll see.
Look, we have a new trailer coming out in a couple of days that really kind of makes sure people know what they're getting into, because I think some people are expecting like a right down the middle monster movie and are a little shocked that it's as goofy as it is, you know? And you know, we like to say we're a Hallmark horror, right? We're the feel-good horror movie of the year. Okay. And that's really what we're going for. I mean, from the romance to the mystery to the comedy. I mean, it's, you know, it's not supposed to be taken super serious. We're not sawing anybody in half, you know. I mean, like, we've got all this like cartoonish, ridiculous like blood that's like spraying everywhere. I mean, if we want it, we're not trying to shock people. We're trying to make them laugh. You know, that's the goal. And you know, because I, you know, don't really have a hobby, you know, I go to the theater sometimes, and I'll just sit in the back with audiences, and they don't know that I'm there. So it's not just my mom laughing really loud to make me feel good, you know, and sitting in a room with people and having them laugh at this ridiculous cartoon drawing of the mean one, or, you know, giggling at some of the absurd lines, or you know, the fact that he's giant and green, and that's what the missing poster says. I mean, every time people just get a chuckle out of this thing, I'm like, mission accomplished. Thank you for, you know, have a drink, have some popcorn, and like just sit back and enjoy. Like, I think it's a fun watch.
Yeah. So this oh, sorry. I was just going to say, this year has been an incredible year for horror in general, but it's such, like, I was really impressed by, you know, just not just how long like Terrifier 2 was in theaters for, but like how much they ended up making in the box office. And the fact that this movie is like both these low budget movies within months of each other were in theaters, and just keep going, just keep staying in theaters for like weeks at a time is really impressive, because that's not how horror used to be. Like, it's basically only true horror fans went to theaters to see horror. Like, horror movies typically have a lower budget than most movies because they don't typically make that much money in theaters. But the fact that these movies are just continuing to just like grow in popularity, and just people are wanting to see these movies in theaters, is just a true testament that horror's not dead. It's still very much horror, alive, and
it's not even alive. Horror is going to save the theater. I really believe that. I mean, I really do. People, there's a certain kind of movie that people don't need to see on the big screen, right? I mean, there's, some comedies people are not really showing up for, certain dramas, prestige pictures, unless you're seeing wide, beautiful vistas and you want to see something in IMAX. Do people feel compelled to go to the theater unless they're going to see all 3 Spider-Man? Not just one. You got to give me at least 3 Spider-Man. I need to see 5 iterations. You need a multiverse of characters to get me to leave the house, right? And that's just what it is. Tom Cruise needs to be at the brink of death. We need to go and see this man and wonder, will he make it out alive, like, to get people out of their homes. And I think that horror is such a, it's an experience that, like, whether it's silly or whether it's scary or gory or funny, I think that people want to leave there, just like live music or theater. Like, you want half of it is what's going on stage in front of you, but the other half is who's standing next to you and what's that like, right? The being in the room where it happens, I think is so critical. I saw Hamilton in New York City, and I watched it on Disney Plus, and there's a big damn difference between the exact same cast, not the same thing. And going to see Terrifier and watching them mutilate that poor animatronic while people next to me are like squealing and grossed out, and the few weirdos who are laughing, you're like, this is it. I'm glad I left the house for this. This is awesome, and I think that horror is gonna do that, get people out of the house and get them to experience something together.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of where I'm at with theater movies. It's like, it's either horror or action, maybe, that I feel movies. Like is that's like maybe worth it to go to the theaters, because it's expensive. And if you're not giving something that's gonna make me I don't know, I feel like you have to be immersed in, like like with the score, or the jump scares, or seeing like the makeup effects and everything, on a bigger screen, all that stuff is why I want to see a horror movie in the theater. I want to be immersed in it. If it's just a comedy or a drama, who cares? Like, I can watch it on my phone.
Don't be immersed in drama.
I mean, I don't have to be.
Look, I mean, but think about it though. I mean, you go to see Top Gun Maverick on a cell phone, I'm sure it's great, right? Yeah. But when those jets are roaring and the 80s music is blasting and your seat is shaking, like that, my house does not do that. I got a good sized TV and I got decent speakers. But when Tom Cruise, the Who's playing and Tom Cruise is flying that jet against an unknown army from no country that we've ever heard of, you're like, I need to be in this room for this. Like, the screen is just massive. Like, let's see that man's beautiful face 150 feet tall.
Yeah, no, 100%. And and I think the price of admission, if you want to get something to eat there and all that, you want to make it worth it. And there's just so many horror movies coming out that I think are worth seeing in theaters. And I think, this film, The Mean One, you have, like Terrifier, some of these more independent films that are becoming successful. It's going to open the door for a lot of, lesser known directors, people who don't have much of a budget, who want to make a movie, and they're going to get some notice now. And, like, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That just...
I appreciate it. It's a huge risk. It is, every time the movie screens, it's like being naked in front of class. I mean, oh my God. I'm monitoring this movie on a screen the size of a cell phone, and, just watching it in the sun, like, how does the shot look? Yeah, it's pretty good. I'm sure it'll be fine. And they blow it up to 150 feet.
Yeah.
And they play it in theaters all around the country. I've got a cameo in the thing. Is my hair okay? It's like, it's crazy. And when we found out we were going to theaters, all of the actors immediately started exercising because they were like, oh my God, what am I going to look like on this screen? It's crazy, and it's a big risk too. Obviously if the movie doesn't perform, independent horror is dead. Don't ever take another risk. You don't ever want to be the first person to do something. But people showed up, and I think that it's, there's so many different kinds of horror, and they don't need to be relegated to a streaming service, so you have 150 streaming services. Why Peacock is showing Halloween movies, I don't know, right? But, I only have so many streaming services. Like, at a certain point, it's just going to cost, like, I might as well just get cable, right? But I think it's really cool that you have, people are willing to take a chance. Both distributors and audiences are willing to take a chance on something not from somebody they've heard of, not starring anybody they know, and just going to like see a fun story. And, it's because of the year we've had with movies and, the pandemic. I think that this December, the fall was of a big concern to our industry. There's not a lot of product. Fingers crossed Avatar is a home run, and everything else like whatever, we'll see, and a bunch of little movies like Terrifier and Us slid in and really made an impact. And it was, it's it doesn't need to, the trick is Disney, if they're going to spend 400, we love Disney, and I would gladly work for Disney. So if Bob Iger, if you're listening, holla at your boy. But if they're going to spend,
that'd be awesome if you
200, right? Please do. I'll text him. We'll see. He still owes me $5, so maybe things
okay.
be weird. Yeah, but I'll text him. Whatever. But they're if they spend $200 million on a thing, right? They also spent another $200 million just to promote it, so they're in the hole for like almost $500 million. That's not like if they only make $500 million. That's like a waste of time for them, right? That's a bad investment. They could have set up a ride that they use to sell toys. So there's, the cost is so high. The pressure is so intense on these giant films that, a little film like ours, if we made $1 million, that would be such a, like, if we made $1 million, you guys would get a check from me. That's how much of a success it would be. Like, we're such a tiny, like, little independent thing that, if we make 100, a few hundred theaters worth of people laugh, that's a big freaking win for us. And a big freaking win for me personally, that, I don't need everyone in China to love the movie in order for us to, like, for me to keep my job. So I think it's great that Everything Everywhere All at Once had very little, marketing budget. And, they're a small, it's a relatively big studio, but still small in comparison to Spider-Man. Man, they crushed it. And every week they added more theaters and more people. And it's like, that movie deserves a shot. And I think we're going to see a lot more little movies pop up and just like the direct to DVD sequels of yore, you're going to have these little short passes that they're not going to make $1 billion, but they're going to do just fine. And we're going to get more of them. So it's going to be really good.
Well, I think that my favorite movies this year have been the smaller, less funded movies. To me, there's a different feeling in those movies. And that's something that I loved about The Mean One. It felt so nostalgic, like watching this movie, the narration, and the little like hints of like having Mayor McBean and like, the different names and stuff. Right. And and the smaller movies can do things like that, can make you feel like you're watching an old school movie again. And there's something comforting about watching a lower budget film.
Not so polished.
Well, it's well, I mean, there's you think about a movie like Halloween, right? You think about a movie like Friday the 13th. I mean, any of the original, like those big 70s slashers, they were made so small. Nobody cared how they finished it, right? They only had like 4 people telling them what to do. On my show, I got one note, from the producers. It started at 3, and they said, if you only do 1, we'll give up on the other 2. I mean, that's unheard of for them, for a director to be allowed to run around and draw little cartoons and spray paint shoes and put a goat in the film. I've made talking animal movies. You know how hard it is to put a goat in a movie that's not independent? No one should have let me do that. But here we are, and with limited oversight, you get these like weird, interesting, unique films, and good, bad, or otherwise, it leave Zack Snyder alone. Let him just do it. Why do you have to give him all these notes? So I'm glad you liked it. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
All right, so I do have a question. So you said the blood that you guys were using was, kind of silly because it was like CGI, right?
Oh, yeah.
So was that intentional or like I was watching it and I was like, oh, why are we having this blood? Why aren't they using like fake blood but not digital? What was the
goat's blood?
Yeah.
Goat's
No, we love the goat. The goat is fine, by the way. The goat is fine, all right? Let the record show. His name is Pedro. He's awesome.
Oh,
We paid him in carrots. He's fine. He's on a farm upstate with all the other goats. No, look, we're a tiny film, right? And one of the things that we wanted to make the most of our resources, and we have such awesome and super talented makeup artist, Tatiana Bluchel, who did the Mean One makeup, and Ashley Teal, who did all the other wounds and injuries and beauty makeup. I mean, just 2 people did all the makeup for the whole film, which is absolutely bonkers. And we knew once we did a handful of tests on some of the wounds, we knew that some of the blood gags were just a little too much, especially some of the stuff that we shot that didn't make it into the cut. We felt when watching it, it was a little incongruous. It felt like super weird to see a Hallmark movie with like the tree spraying real blood out of an open, like inflatable wound. Just like some of that stuff seemed like a little too much. It was like, whoa, we had just seen Terrifier. And we definitely were not doing Terrifier level gore, but it was still kind of a lot for a movie that had so much romance and heart and demanded to be so silly. So we opted to cover some of the digital blood and cut some of cover some of the practical blood and cut some of the shots out, and went with something that was a little hokier, a little bit less realistic, that didn't involve the creature getting sprayed with, covered with all of this red goo, because it just, we felt like it fit the tone of the movie a little bit more in terms of it being silly and zany and cartoonish.
Gotcha.
But I know some people aren't a fan of it because obviously it looks like bad filmmaking, and we're like, well, we did make a giant green monster, and I think he looks pretty darn good. So clearly we have the ability to do it, but we just didn't want to do it. We didn't want to chop faces and really show it because that's a different kind of movie. I think.
Right.
That was yes.
That's why I brought it up, because I was like, okay, it looks like they have the ability. I can see that there's the makeup effects, and you guys did the the Mean One very well. He looks really cool. And so I was wondering like what the motivation there was. So that makes total sense.
Yeah, and we kind of had sorry.
No, go ahead.
Well, we kind of had a debate in our house about like why did they do that?
Yeah.
And I was saying you can't do this story with having this like crazy blood. You have to make it silly.
Yeah.
So I was thinking that. Yeah.
So you win.
Not everybody. I mean, author's intent, right? I mean, look, not everybody's a fan of digital blood, and there's some amazing gags. I watched Tropic Thunder the other day, and there's a character who gets shot in the head, and they're spraying so much fake blood. It's like they got an air compressor. It's just squirting, not even like spurting. It's just a spraying like it's a fire hose. And I'm like, oh, that's funny. But I think all of the different blood, it all has a different effect, and for what we were trying to do, and especially with the tone, which was so important to me, that it didn't get too sad. I mean, both of her parents were murdered, but it's still a comedy, right? So it's, there's a real balancing act to be had. And I know the digital blood was kind of controversial, and what we are debating doing is putting out the director's cut, kind of my earlier cut that had a little bit more of these gags in them, some of the more extreme stuff that we kind of cut around. It's, to me, it's sort of like the Lord of the Rings, where the extended edition is awesome if you like Lord of the Rings, but the pacing kind of suffers because it's like 10 hours of movie.
It's
so
really long.
It's long, and if you like Lord of the Rings, sit down and get ready to go to the bathroom a couple of times because it's long. But if you're into it, great, see it. So we're definitely, I'm almost positive we're going to do a director's cut that will have a lot more of the practical blood in and maybe less of the cartoony digital blood, so people can see maybe why we didn't do it.
Gotcha.
I think the CGI cartoony blood is actually, like what Katrina was saying, is actually perfect for a movie like this, because you even state in the trailer that it's a parody. It's not supposed to be taken seriously.
Yeah.
So if people are having a problem with that, then obviously they didn't pay attention to what they're watching. Like, it's
and it's not to say that we didn't do it. We get to, as someone who does a lot of post-production, we didn't just shoot one version of the film. There are, other scenes that we cut. There are other versions, certain takes. I mean, David gave us so much material. He's got scary takes where he's funny. We've got funny takes where he's scary.
Nice.
But I think some people might have missed the point, because there are definitely some folks who walked out like, it's not scary. I'm like, I know, but it was sweet, right? Like Christmas. That's the point. You guys like Christmas? You guys like Christmas? And they're like, we wanted Terrifier 3. I'm like, ooh, we do. Yikes! Well, you might want to. You should have read something, because we did not do that. And nor did I say
you should have watched the trailer for this movie.
Right, watch the trailer. Yeah,
you would have gotten it immediately.
Well, I didn't watch the trailer, and I
cool.
was thinking, okay, I'm gonna go, and I wanted to see it because I was excited, and we saw the poster for it right after we walked out of Terrifier 2, and I was like, oh man, we're going to that, and then I kept thinking, oh man, do I really want this story ruined for me? And so I was going into it thinking like, oh man, what am I getting myself into?
Yeah.
And when I saw it so like fun like that, with the just goofy blood and whatever, I was like, yes, good. They didn't ruin my story.
Thank you. That was the goal, baby.
Yeah.
That was the goal. And it's so funny too, because the number of people, the number of private messages I've gotten online that are like, you're ruining my childhood. I'm like, you should see it because I think you'll be okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's light, I don't think we ruined anything, but I'm glad that, people are talking about it. And I think, if you enjoy it and you think it was fun, if you could tell 100 or 1,000 people, that'd be super awesome.
Yeah.
Because
I'll see how many people I know.
Just text him right now. Just go, hey man, long time no see. Have you seen the mean one? Here's a link. Get tickets right now. You don't even have to go. Just buy the tickets. I mean,
there you go.
I mean, but I love it. I mean, I've just been absolutely thrilled with sitting with audiences, and even Terrifier fans who came out and were like, that was nothing like Terrifier, but this was fun. And I'm like, that's just supposed to be a fun time at the movies. Yeah. It's total Christmas movie. I hope people, rewatch it, get a kick out of it. We're going to do a commentary track, and I'll tell you all about the chewing gum and duct tape that held this film together. And, it's great. It's silly fun. And I'm still thrilled that, people want to see it, and we had a blast making it, and we hope people have fun watching it.
Yeah. If you could parody any character into a horror parody, what would be your next character, your next movie?
Oh, Well, I mean, actually, I already know what my next parody is. But I haven't announced it yet, so I can't. I can't tell you what it is.
You can text us later.
Don't want to like break that.
We'll talk later. Yeah, you get the inside scoop. But it's something. It's really well known. Something I've loved forever, and it's got monsters and action, and it's going to be super fun.
Nice.
So
Okay.
Nice.
But what I would say is, if I wasn't going to do that one, I don't know, I'd probably want to do like, I don't know, maybe Sleeping Beauty, or do like the one you'd never be able to do, right? Do like Mickey Mouse himself. Sorcerer's Apprentice, red, the red outfit, the hat, the wand. Though I mean, Fantasia is pretty horrifying on and of itself.
Yes,
but
yeah, it is. It can be. That would be something.
But I might get killed just for saying those words out loud.
Right,
so,
right.
You know what, Bob Iger? You can keep the $5. We're even.
Yeah, so...
Is that a red laser pointer on my chest? What is that?
Uh-oh.
You guys hear something ticking?
Yeah, I've, you mentioned people saying that you're ruining my childhood. I've seen a lot of comments like that when, the advertisement for this movie online, first we have Winnie the Pooh ruined, now we have this one ruined. And, I've been seeing a lot of that. And I don't know. I guess I get it, but it's not actually supposed to be scary, though. I don't know if people are understanding that or if they're...
Well, that's the thing is, like myself, I refused to watch the trailer.
Yeah.
And partly because I don't like watching trailers. And partly because I thought, I don't want to see the trailer and then be like, no, I don't want to see the movie because I didn't want to know. Because I knew I was going to see it with you.
Nice.
But I think that that's the thing is for people who grew up loving this story and who love the Doctor, they don't want to see this, beautiful story.
I guess they were taking it seriously then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that it was taking, especially the fact that it was Art the Clown is playing the mean one.
Yeah.
Like in my head, I thought, oh man, this is gonna be crazy.
Right.
Like,
when I did first see the image of him like holding the back of that girl's head, like it did look pretty freaky. I was like, okay, this is gonna be awesome. And when I first saw that, I thought,
I said crazy, you said awesome.
Yeah. Right. I was like, okay.
And you saw the movie and we're like, uh-oh.
But yeah, as more came out about it, then I was like, okay, this is just gonna be a silly fun time. And but that's the thing. The advertisement that I saw, most of it was very clear that it was a parody.
Mm-hmm.
So
it even said parody.
Right.
It even said it was a parody.
Well,
so it's like...
look, I mean, some things, some movies are kind of a victim of their own marketing. I think M. Night Shyamalan's had that happen to him a bunch of times where some of his films are like definitely thrillers.
The Village.
And the trailer cut it to look like a horror movie. And you go to see it, you're like, this isn't horrifying. And you're like, no, but it's thrilling for sure. But the audience was sold something else, right? People went to go see Drive expecting it to be Fast and Furious. We're so mad they like sued the studio. They're like, this wasn't Fast and Furious. They're like, hey, we made the movie we set out to make, but the trailer kind of confused people. So that's why we're doing this new trailer. And, we hope that the word of mouth moms and significant others aren't scared to see the movie because it's not, I personally don't think it's especially scary. It's gory, but in a silly way. And, it's just meant to be a fun time at the movies. And
it's not rated, correct?
No, it's currently not rated, although this other cut that we're discussing releasing would be unrated. Okay. So watch out for that.
Okay. So I think your term, a Hallmark horror, is like the perfect term for this. If you can get
that, trademark that.
I'm trying. If I can piss off as many major corporations as possible, that's my goal. So I'm trying to drag Hallmark into this as well. Yeah, it's it's the. I mean, I think that's really. I mean, the feel good horror is kind of what we've been telling people, and they're like, really? I'm like, yeah, I mean, there's like a really cheesy, like schmaltzy, but like actually kind of sweet love story in there, and forgiveness, and
yeah.
It's
really,
everything.
Yeah, I really liked the love story, especially with the the dude's Jewish, and it's Christmas. Like some of that stuff is funny. His like matzo ball soup wasn't actually, he didn't make it at home or whatever. Like, it's just silly stuff like that. I know I'm saying too much.
No, it's a silly film. We want people to know that it's silly and goofy. Spoilers. And yes, don't spoil the major.
That was a big part of the
big plot twist of the soup. The clown's got the mashed potatoes, and we've got the matzo ball soup. It's a very salacious insight you're getting here.
That's actually the guy who plays the cop is actually a friend of ours. Chris, that's a friend of his.
Oh,
yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
we're all finding this out.
Yeah,
which Chris knows Chase?
His name is
Stephen?
Chris Sutphin.
Oh, never mind.
I think. He used to live in LA a while back, years and years ago, and I guess he knows him from that time.
Look, there's only like 4 people who work in Hollywood, so it's we all know each other.
Small town. Right?
It's a very small town. I mean, Chase was in my last movie, which is technically my next movie because that's coming out. It's coming out after the Mean One.
Oh, okay.
So and all of the stunt performers in the SantaCon massacre, like those are all my friends. Like they've all been killed by me repeatedly, and then we hang and I go to their house for Thanksgiving dinner. Like I just hang out. My fiance's a stunt Mayor McBean. She's a professional stunt person as well. So I just roll with stunt people, and we're I'm always killing my friends. Like it's just what I do.
Well, the main character, I kept
Cindy?
looking at her and thinking, oh my gosh, she looks just like Jessica Biel.
She does have a Jessica Biel look.
And I kept thinking, who is that who's playing this character?
Crystal Martin.
Crystal Martin. She's awesome. She most of the time she gets mistaken for Ronda Rousey, who she doubles a lot as a super legit stunt
training montage. I could see that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Once I was
she throws
told,
a punch.
Yeah, and once I was told that she doubles, or like that she does.
Yeah, she doubles for her.
Yeah. Then I could see it.
Yeah.
But the whole time I saw Jessica Biel.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'll let her know. You can check from her too. She's going to take that as a great compliment.
Yeah.
She's awesome. I mean, this is her first feature film as as the lead. She's been working, forever, but this is her first feature that she got to be a lead, and it was so awesome to see someone who I've worked with before, and to not only as stunts but as an actor, but to give her a role and really watch her kind of build a character that is able to start from a place of vulnerability and kind of not weakness, but going through a tough time, and then see her kind of build this character that grows and ultimately gets her power and decides to fight back was just a treat. And she plays it so well. And it's so hard for her to like throw a punch poorly. We had to do so much work of like, no, Crystal, you look too badass. It's too early in the movie. Can you throw it, like bend your elbow, like put your finger on the trigger? She's like, I would die if I put my finger on the trigger. My friends will mock me. I'm like, I know, but you're supposed to be bad with a gun. I promise at the end of the movie, you can do all the good safety stuff and you can look tough. But for now, you need to look like a novice. And so, that was like the one acting challenge for her, was throwing a punch and not looking like a total badass.
It's a pretty good challenge.
Yeah, it's a good problem to have when you're a director, right? Like, no, make it look worse. Like, it's
you're doing it too good.
Strange job I have. Right? No, really. I mean, just absurd. It was great. This was such a blast to make. It really was. We had so much fun making it, and the idea that anyone else would laugh at the movie as much as we laughed making it is like. It's just a dream come true. We're so happy.
That's great. So a couple more things. A character that I really liked was Doc. I thought he was great. I loved the little line that he threw in about who people call him. That had me laughing pretty loud.
Oh,
because it was so subtle. It was so subtle, and I was like, what? Oh, okay, I get it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was good. And then the narrator, his voice
Yeah.
was cool.
How'd you get
perfect.
Anthony Hopkins to narrate this movie for you? That's crazy.
It's not Anthony Hopkins. It is not Anthony Hopkins. It is Kirkland. It's Great Value brand. Tom Hiddleton. That's who it is. No, Chris is a guy I work with a lot. Actually, he's another stunt performer. I've shot him in the face more times than I care to admit, and he. He read the script at one of our table reads and was like, "Hey man, can I read for the?" And that's not what he sounds like in real life. And he's, he lives in Reseda and is like, "Hey man, can I read for the narrator?" And I was like, "I mean, I guess if you want, I kind of had an idea of what I was looking for." I said, "Well, look, I'm looking for something kind of like a cross between the opening narrator from Beauty and the Beast and maybe a little bit of Boris Karloff, but I want something like spooky and silly." And he was like, "Okay, let me send you some stuff." And he sent me the narration, and I was like, "Oh my god, that is not what I wanted, but it's perfect. It's so perfect. It's so good." And he's been doing all our promos and stuff, and he I think his voiceover agent dropped him like the day before the movie came out. And and he was like, "Well, I'm going to stick it to him now." I was like, "I think you will, buddy." He's like one of the best parts of the movie. So
that's what made the movie.
I loved it. What does he say? Like at the beginning, what if that's not how it goes? Or
What if I said that's not how it went down? And then, the best rhyme in the whole thing is definitely when he's like, "The battle drew nearer, but who's hunting who is becoming less and less clearer." And it's like, clearer is not a word. What are you doing? And he did like 4 different takes, and he paused and was like, "Less and less clearer." Like even he was confused when he read it, and we were like, "Yeah, but let's try it again." Because it was great. It was so much fun to do.
That's totally the Doctor.
Yeah,
that's it. That's
making up all these words.
Just getting silly with it. And there's some narration too, even that got cut. And that's what's so funny is that you have a finished product. We raced to the finish line. Like I said, we shot in May, and the movie had to be turned over September, October. And there's stuff that we cut for time, and stuff that we cut for pacing, and stuff that we cut because we just didn't have time to do more work on the movie. There's definitely some narration. We're like, does the movie need it? But all of it was good. And sometimes you got to kill your babies,
Oh.
All right.
No, kill your darlings. You know what I mean, though? I mean, you're like, "Oh, I love it," but really, though, does the movie need to be an extra 5 minutes longer?
Right.
No. The best thing this film could be is short. So let's keep it moving.
Right. Yeah. You don't want to overstay your welcome with a movie like this.
No, certainly not. A 3-hour movie is not for this anyway. Some films, sure, but this one ain't it.
Yeah. All right. So you said you have this other film that is coming out. When does that come out?
That'll be out early next year. It's called Bury Me Twice, and it's the story of a hard-boiled, washed-up detective in 1940s Los Angeles, and he's searching for a reporter's missing sister. And it turns out she's not dead. She's not kidnapped. She's patient zero for the zombie apocalypse.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
Oh, yeah. So if he can figure out what happened to her, he can save the city before it tears itself apart. So he gets like a group of friends together as the whole world collapses around him, and they go on this mission to try to save this missing girl. And it's all green screen. It was shot like Sin City. So it's like a live action comic book. Same writers, so it's the same like kind of fun, zany tone. It's just a fun watch, and we could do so much because it's all green screen. We could be on rooftops and blow up buses, and because it's not supposed to look realistic. It's a live action comic book,
Yeah.
And that was another one that's crazy, and I animated every single shot myself. So it's 2,500 VFX shots. 90 minutes, one crazy man just sitting at his computer animating for 5 years straight, and it'll be out next year.
Wow.
Nice.
Okay.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll definitely have to check that out. Do you know if that's going to come to theaters or?
I know I wasn't planning on putting it in theaters, but
right.
the sky's the limit. I mean, at this point, we're, hard for me to look at a traditional release strategy and not say we should consider a theatrical experience, especially for a popcorn flick, you know?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll just have to wait and see. But
Okay.
yeah, I mean, it's just great. I mean, I love being in the room with people and you know, laughing with audiences or, you know, or cheering along. I mean, when I saw Avengers Endgame in theaters, that was like one of the best cinematic experiences. It was sold out. It was opening night. Everybody yelled when everybody came back. Spoilers. If you haven't seen it by now. So I don't know. I want to give people theatrical experiences. I used to shoot 3D all the time. And, you know, I'm like, hey, well, we want to do some, you guys want to shoot 3D? Because I know how to do that. so who knows? Who knows what's next? But I know it's going to be exciting for sure.
All right.
Cool.
And
That's awesome.
and then you said you have this other one. That are you currently working on this other parody, or is this just kind of in the beginning stages? Or
yeah, it's in development for sure. I've already started on some light casting, and you know, we have putting some dates on the board for when we want to start shooting. I have an outline and designs for some of the creatures, and you know, some because that's, you know, that the very first thing I do is I sketch out, you know, the beats for the things that I want to see happen, right? Whether it's the set pieces or the arc of the character, and I have the source material as well, and you know, it's just, I love drawing in the margins. Like every fun idea I've ever had, whether it's made it to screen or not, is doodled in the margins somewhere. Like my shooting script for the mean one is just terrible, crudely drawn prison art therapy sketches, like in the margins of my script. And yeah, this new thing is just that, and someone much more skilled than I will translate my crazy, you know, Zodiac killer drawings and turn them into you know, hopefully something super cool.
all right.
A work of art.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Well, you know, prison art therapy is a form of art, you know, so don't knock it. But yeah, my creepy little drawings are they're not for the public. They're just a starting point.
Gotcha.
Nice.
All right. Awesome. Well, we look forward to both of those.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I don't have any other questions. You guys have anything else you want to ask them?
I think I mean, everything
overthink
everything that I was gonna ask or was wondering about has pretty much already been answered. So,
all right. Well, as you can see, all three of us enjoyed it. We definitely recommend it for you know, anybody to see it. I think anybody can have a good time with it as long as you're not there thinking you're gonna get some serious movie.
Yeah,
it's a good
Christmas
Christmas.
parody, guys. Come on,
it's a good movie for Christmas. There's good winks and nods to the source material. If you know the source material and more of those books, then you'll probably get a kick out of some of those little things. The narration included, and go see it. It's worth it.
Yeah, very worth it.
Yeah.
All right, guys. What a wonderful endorsement. I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you for supporting independent horror, independent movies.
Always.
We're nothing without the people. We're nothing without the people that go and spend their money to see it. So we really appreciate it. And as long as you guys keep showing up to the theaters, we'll keep making movies. So thank you.
Speaking of that, go follow him on all the you know, social media and all that, so you can see all of his updates and see, you know, what he's working on, because I think you got some cool stuff coming out. And go see the
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Catch me on Instagram at Stephen LaMorte is the best place to, especially my stories is where I post from set a lot. And if you want to follow the movie, it's all of our social media is at The Mean One Movie, or themeanonemovie.com if you want to, you know, see where the movie's playing and keep up with it, because I know it's not playing everywhere. And if you sign up on our website, you'll be the first to find out when it's streaming and where.
All right. Awesome.
Nice.
All right, Stephen. Well, thanks for coming on and talking to us. It was a blast. And, you know, we'll have
Thanks
you
for
back.
having me.
We'll have you back again, maybe when your next one, you know, comes out or sometime around there.
If you haven't blown up too much for us.
Oh, are you
if
kidding?
you haven't gotten too big.
Oh, I'll never get too. I mean, I'm a short man. I'm never going to get bigger. This is it for me. But look, I make movies for people that want to watch movies. So you guys are the best. I always make time for you. Thank you so much for having me.
All right, awesome.
Thank you.
Okay, well, that was our interview with Stephen LaMorte, the director of The Mean One, and our review of The Mean One. And this has been Scare Talk.
Sleep tight.
Don't let the mean one bite.